Hi everyone! Well, it's been an especially gorgeous year for the nasturtiums and the poppies on the hill right behind me. So I wanted to take this opportunity to do a spring garden tour before the flowers fade in the heat. So let me show you around. I'm absolutely loving the nasturtiums this year, and so many of you have asked how to plant them. They're so easy to plant and they're absolutely beautiful, spilling over the stone walkway here. Believe it or not, I didn't plant any new seeds this year, but if you are planting new seeds, these are in my Cool Season Flowers collection, and you just pop the seeds in the soil. They actually thrive on neglect. They don't need super great soil. And the great thing is they reseed and they grow back each year. But the key is get them planted early in the spring because they love temperatures of 80 degrees Fahrenheit or under. Now, if you remember, we planted out this garden bed a few weeks ago on the Spring Garden series, and it is looking absolutely beautiful. I have actually kept it shaded over the past couple of weeks because we've had some hot weather. We've got the red romaine, which is looking good, and surprisingly enough, I have a ton of borage popping up in here. That's what all these little seedlings are. And borage is a great flower to grow as well. It's actually an herb. It's in the cool season, actually the warm season pollinators collection. And it reseeds itself every single year. It's beautiful. I'll show you some of the flowers that are blooming in just a moment. But I am going to be pulling a lot of these seedlings out because I'm going to be planting some tomatoes and peppers in this garden bed. And if you recall, in the video we shot on lettuce, we planted some seeds right along the drip irrigation line, and they're popping up. They're looking beautiful. I think this is the prize head lettuce, if I recall correctly. The red romaine in the middle, it's going to be a nice combination of colors. And then I planted the prize head, or maybe it was the Grand Rapids lettuce, along the front here. So it's coming along well, and I'm hoping to get a harvest before the warm weather hits. Now here is the borage blooming absolutely beautiful. Borage is a huge bee attractor. So it really brings the bees into your garden, and it's so easy to grow. So I highly encourage you to plant borage seeds. Now along the side of the fence here, I planted some wildflowers, and they are just starting to bloom. Absolutely beautiful, more nasturtiums, and then the wildflowers will be blooming as the weather gets warmer. In the garden bed here, I have a tomato plant in, and unfortunately, I didn't put a tag in, so I'm not sure what variety it is. I think it's the Marigold from the Spring Garden seed collection, and I will be putting a cage over this plant very soon. I'm so excited, guys, because look, we've got some flowers coming along, the weather's getting warmer, and the tomatoes absolutely love the warm weather and the warm nights. So they love nights that are in the 50s and 60s, and this plant is going to be taking off. Now I'm leaving the rest of the garden bed empty here because I'm saving a spot for some more tomatoes and peppers that we're planning on a video in the Spring Garden series very soon. And you can see how the nasturtiums are absolutely amazing. They're bordering this garden bed, and a lot of you have asked me, how do you keep your nasturtiums under control? Well, if you see down at the bottom here, I just recently trimmed these back, and what I did was just took my electric hedge trimmer and just ran it right along the bottom of the nasturtiums because they're really starting to spill into this garden bed, and that really helps keep them under control. And before you know it though, they're going to be leafing out and branching out a little bit more. So I'll probably do that every couple of weeks until the weather gets too hot and the nasturtiums just won't be as brilliant and bright anymore, and I'll probably pull them out. Now I do plan to do a more in-depth video on planting flowers over the next month or so, but just so you guys know, I have been intentionally letting this get a little bit overgrown. I love the brilliant flowers, I just don't have the heart to pull it out yet, because again, they'll be fading soon enough in the heat of the summer. So my plan is to plant some tomatoes along in here and along in here, some warm weather vegetables, but I'm really waiting for a few more weeks because I just want to enjoy these flowers a little bit longer. So it is a little bit hard to get down here through the walkways, but again, I love them so much, and I just don't have the heart to pull them out just yet. The poppies, oh my goodness, the poppies have been absolutely stunning this year. We had so much rain over the winter time, and the flowers are absolutely popping, especially the poppies. So if you're looking for some really easy flowers that you can grow in the spring, pick up a Cool Season Flower collection. And it's got poppies, nasturtiums, and calendula, some absolutely gorgeous flowers that will grow in temperatures under 80 degrees. Now, if you live in Southern California, you might have been fighting the crowds to get to the poppy fields. Well, we are enjoying our own little poppy field right here in our own backyard. Well, I'm hoping just to get a few more weeks out of my pea plants. Here we have some sugar and sugar snap peas. If you caught the video that we posted last weekend on growing peas, you'll know that these are absolutely beautiful variety of sugar snap peas. Very, very productive. And I actually harvested a whole bunch yesterday because it was about 90 degrees and I didn't want the pods getting all stringy. These are absolutely delicious. The pods are super tender, edible, and they do love the cold weather. So with the hot temperatures coming up, I don't expect these plants to last a whole lot longer. But I am saving this spot here for some tomatoes and peppers, but I just can't resist these peas. So tender and crunchy. Now the hill right now is absolutely crammed with flowers. Normally this is a walkway in here, but these flowers reseeded from last year. Honestly guys, I did not plant any of this last year. I believe we've got some more poppies in here, the orange poppies, also some pink little poppies right over here that are just starting to bloom. So maybe we could get a few more weeks out of those. And I'm sure right in here we usually have tons of bachelor's buttons and all kinds of things coming in. I did plant some wildflowers over the winter time. You guys might remember that video. Right before it rained, we laid down wildflower seeds. So now that it's getting warmer, a lot of them are starting to bloom. I'm not even sure what this beautiful purple flower is right over here, but the bees have already been flocking to it. And I love planting the flowers right near the vegetables to bring the pollinators in right where they need to be, so we get tons of vegetables too. Now, if you remember on last week's pea video, how to grow peas from seed to harvest, we planted some little marvel peas in this cute CaliKim 5-gallon smart pots. And I love the little sunflower stalk trellis that we put in. Now the peas have been out in the sun all week and they haven't sprouted yet, so I did move them into the shade yesterday. I'm really hoping that they germinate very soon. Now in this garden bed right next to me here, it does look really overgrown, but again, things have been flowering and I just haven't had the heart to pull the flowers out and to thin it out and put in my warm weather vegetables yet. But I love this little flower right here. These are the dianthus from the Cool Season Flower Collection. They're an absolutely beautiful flower, very easy to grow, and they really make a nice little edging flower, don't you think? Right here along the front edge of this garden bed. So these will probably die out in the summer heat and then I'll cut them all back. Well, I really wish you guys could be out here enjoying this beautiful morning with me. It's so peaceful, the birds are chirping, there's bees buzzing around, and I absolutely enjoy sitting here in the middle of these flowers. So again, these garden beds are a little bit overgrown, but you know what? I'm enjoying it, and pretty soon we'll be pulling out some of these vegetables, overgrown vegetables behind me and planting some warm weather crops. So that'll be a lot of fun. So let's head over to the Smart Pots deck and I'll show you what's going on over there. But before I do that, I just wanted to show you what nasturtiums will look like once they start drying up in the heat. So again, yesterday it was about 90 degrees here. These were in full sun for a good portion of the day. And I think these are going to need to be trimmed back because they just aren't taking the heat. And nasturtiums aren't supposed to take the heat. So here on the Smart Pots deck, I did plant some cilantro here and some chives. This little tan 20-gallon smart pots, and I like it right here on the corner because it gets the morning sun, but it gets the afternoon shade. And cilantro is a cool weather herb, and I think this might be starting to bolt, so I'm not sure how much longer we'll have the cilantro around, but we'll enjoy it while we can. Now, if you saw my picture on Instagram the other day, I posted a picture of my broccoli stalk, and I know this container is looking pretty bad. These are all the cool weather vegetables here, cool weather vegetables that aren't really making it in the heat. I did decide to go ahead and harvest my broccoli. I totally forgot we were filming a video today, or I would have waited, but it was 90 degrees yesterday and I needed to pull it out because it was the flowers were starting to open up and I was just afraid that it wasn't going to make it. So the containers at the back here, I have kind of cleared out. I am in the process of changing out the soil in these containers. I had some other soil in here that I'm just not fond of because it got super compacted, and I'm going to be switching it out for the Good Dirt potting mix over the next few weeks, cleaning up the containers and then replanting. Over here, this soil is really compacted, and I've just found that it doesn't perform as well as the Good Dirt potting soil. So we'll definitely be switching that out. And I plan to plant my salsa garden. Remember that? I started that back in January, and I still have the tomatoes growing, and I'm going to be planting, and peppers growing, and I'm going to be planting that right here in this garden bed. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And you might want to grab a salsa seed collection so that you can grow a salsa garden along with me. So I am really excited about this container right here. This is a 20-gallon Smart Pots. It has a golden Jubilee tomato from my tomato seed collection. One of the first full-size tomatoes I have planted out in the garden for the spring. Now, if you can see here, I have the Smart Pots folded halfway down. I filled it halfway with good dirt potting mix. And as the tomato grows, what I'm going to do is fold the sides up, fill it with soil, and that way the tomato plant will grow roots from wherever it touches the soil. It'll be a nice, sturdy plant that won't sway in the wind. It'll be really, really sturdy and strong. So I'm very excited to harvest some Golden Jubilee tomatoes over the next couple of months. Now in the container right next to it here, I planted the yellow crookneck. I think it's a crookneck squash from my spring garden seed collection. I'm so excited, guys, because right here we already have a squash developing, actually a couple of squashes developing. So if you don't have a lot of garden space, you can still grow large vegetables, a lot of vegetables in containers on a balcony or patio. Now I'm loving the look of this long raised bed here on the edge of the deck, and a couple plants I'm really excited about in this container. The first one being the Tiny Tim tomato. This is the perfect container tomato if you don't have a lot of space. It's in my small space seed collection. It's called the Tiny Tim tomato. It only grows to about 2 feet tall. And would you look at these tomatoes? It's already producing tomatoes. It grows and ripens them very quickly, I think in about 60 days or so. But these are so much fun. They're a very snackable size to pick right in the garden and to eat right in the garden or to throw in salads. So we've been picking a little handful of these every couple of days. Oh my goodness. Guys, if you have never had a homegrown tomato, you have got to grow your own. They are so delicious and you'll never go back to store-bought again.
Is there one in there?
Oh yeah, camera guy, you've got to try this.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
Wow.
It's like a flavor explosion.
I was not expecting that.
So
oh
guys, you can grow your own tomatoes.
Wow.
You can do it. No matter if you have a backyard, a patio, a deck, a balcony, you can do it. Now, one of my favorite varieties of lettuce is this Paris Cause romaine lettuce right here. And this is in the lettuce seed collection, also in the heat tolerant green seed collection. Look at these beautifully shaped leaves. Aren't those gorgeous? They're nice and firm. They hold up really well to salad dressings. And it is a more heat tolerant variety of lettuce. It's usually good up until about 80 degrees before it starts to kind of wilt out in the sun. And it is a great variety of lettuce. Definitely always has a spot here in my garden. And if you see along the edge of the garden bed here, I planted some marigolds. Now marigolds are supposed to repel bugs, and these I just picked up at the garden center. I didn't grow them from seed, but I like the nice big heads here. And the great thing about marigolds is when you pinch off the heads, like this one is looking a little bit raggedy. So if I pinch it off here, they're going to grow new flower heads on top. Just like this one is right next to it. I pinched this one off a couple of days ago, and look, there's new little flower heads popping up. Marigolds will really take the heat, and they're super easy to grow from seed as well, or you can pick up 6-packs at your garden center very inexpensively. Now I did want to take a quick peek under the shade cloth here. Remember we planted this last week? We planted some peas under here, and I've had it covered with shade cloth because it's been kind of hot this week. But I want to take a quick peek and see how the peas are doing. Wow, they are looking good. It was 90 degrees yesterday, so I was a little bit worried about it, but I did come out here and give them a little bit of extra water. But it looks like they're coming right along and hanging in there. And this plant over here, we actually harvested some from the video on Saturday, but it's got a few more peas coming on. So I think we might get some more harvests before the weather gets hot. Now, if you guys recall, over the winter time, we planted some scarlet runner beans on this side of the trellis. Now, I actually did have to replant the ones we planted in the video because we got a frost and they died. But now the scarlet runner beans are coming in absolutely gorgeous. I cannot even tell you how excited I am about these beans. Look at that flower. Isn't that absolutely beautiful? So when this all these plants start to flower, it is going to be absolutely stunning. And you can see they're climbing their way up the trellis and starting to get all the way up here. So they're super tall beans. They probably will climb and arch all the way over this trellis, which is going to be absolutely amazing. Now, I haven't even had to tie them up. They grab onto the trellis very easily. If you see this little vine here, I come out every couple of days and look for these little vines, and then I just wind them around the trellis and they grab right on. So scarlet runner beans are in my bean seed collection. They do like the cooler weather, so it's best to get them planted in the springtime. And then as I harvest and these beans die out, I'll plant some other warm weather vegetables along the base, maybe some butternut squash or some other climbing vegetables. Scarlet runner beans are so delicious. They're super tender. I can't wait to eat them. One last thing for this garden bed is the sunflowers. Every year I have volunteer sunflowers in this garden bed. I absolutely love them. They're popping up right here. They're really starting to take off with the warm weather we've been having. It's going to be a lot of fun to see these grow. Now here we have the orange tree. Remember when we did that accidental harvest on a video last fall? Super exciting. We've got some flowers and some little teeny tiny baby oranges starting to develop. So super excited about that. But keeping it well watered and well fertilized. I've got these little seedlings popping up in the bottom here. I'm not even sure what these are. So if these look familiar to any of you, let me know. I don't remember planting any seeds in here, but you never know. I could have planted some and forgotten about it. Now this garden bed gets the most sun in my garden, so I always try and plant a lot of peppers here. Now if you guys watched the video the other day on trimming back kale, a lot of you commented that it looks like an octopus. I never thought of that, but it really is true. So I'm going to be keeping this well watered over the next few weeks and looking forward to some little baby leaves popping out. So if you didn't catch that video, you want to go back and watch it, and make sure you don't pull out your old kale, you prune it back and wait for the new growth. Now these nasturtiums will probably quickly be pooping out in the heat. Now right next to it, I did really prune back a pepper plant really hard. I think this is a California wonder pepper. I really thought this plant would die, but it's starting to branch out. So I'm really excited that it's going to be regrowing and I'll have more pepper plants very soon. So you definitely can prune back your pepper plants for brand new growth. And we're going to just continue along this garden bed here. I just planted a couple of peppers in here a few weeks ago. They're looking a little bit ratty. We did have some cold nights, so they haven't really been growing too much yet. Peppers really do like the warm nights, the 50 to 60 degree temperatures. So if your nights are still in the 30s, you might want to wait, 30s and 40s, you might want to wait a little bit before you set your pepper plants out. But they're looking good. They're going to make it, and they'll be starting to put on some new growth, especially now that the weather is warm. So same thing in the front here with this pepper plant. I do have a couple little peppers on it, and I think this is a California wonder pepper plant, and I anticipate new growth as the weather is warming up now. One kind of bummer thing is, but it's just the way it goes, as soon as I start getting enough sun in my backyard, because it is shaded a lot during the winter time, the cool weather plants start growing. But about that time, the weather gets too hot. So this cabbage here is actually just starting to head up because I'm getting more sun. But now the weather's getting hot, so I don't expect we'll get a very good full cabbage head out of this one. Now a plant I'm really excited to see come back is this plant right here. These were the teeny tiny red Thai chilies. Again, I pruned it back really hard, and you can see all the new growth here. I've been giving it the Vermistera worm castings, worm tea, the Good Dirt plant food. It's really starting to leaf out again, so I'm super, super excited because I actually had a viewer give me seeds for this, so it's kind of a special plant for me. Now along the edge of this garden bed, I planted some chives, which are a cool weather herb, a perennial, and they're really starting to leaf out now. And I'll be harvesting these and putting them into omelets is how we really like to eat them, and into salads. Now I could use a little bit of advice about this plant here. It really took a lot of frost damage over the winter time. I've had it in here for maybe 3 years, and I actually don't even remember the name of this flower here. But I'm kind of considering pulling it out, so I wanted to see what you guys thought. I don't think it really looks that great anymore, and it really does shade out this little area here, and I like to plant peppers along here, but the peppers behind this plant never do really well. So leave me a comment and let me know what you think I should do with this plant. On this Smart Pots long container here, I just planted some bean seeds yesterday for my bean seed collection. So I'm really excited about that because they're going to be different colors. I planted the Royal Burgundy bush beans along the edge here. In the middle, I planted the Slenderette beans, which are a smaller variety of beans, really great for container growing. And along the outside edge here, I planted the yellow wax beans. So it's going to be purple beans on the outside edge, green beans on the middle, and then yellow beans on the other outside edge. An absolutely beautiful combination. So really excited about that. Now, I also cut back the Prism Kale. This is Prism Kale. It's a compact variety of kale, All America Selections variety, absolutely stunning kale. And you can see a couple of large stalks right in the middle of the garden bed, which I pruned back just yesterday and took these inside. Now these leaves were still in really good shape. They looked very similar to this, so I am gonna be using these in a salad to bring to our family Easter dinner on Sunday. Now I did want to give you guys just a quick little look here at the grapevine. Remember that video I did a few months back? I asked for your help on a trellis. So we haven't got our trellis built yet, but we definitely need to. Now I pruned back the grapevine. This tree's kind of getting overgrown too. And it's really starting to show a lot of new growth. So we really do need to get out here and put that trellis up.
Sounds like a new project to me.
I think it'll be a fun one. I actually just noticed that these branches here are starting to flower, which means that we really need to get out here and get this trellis built before these branches get too grown so we can start training them over the trellis. Well, I have lots of plans for this garden bed, but right now I'm just enjoying the flowers. They are just absolutely incredible this year. This, believe it or not, guys, is a giant sage plant. Would you look at these beautiful purple flowers? The bees are absolutely loving it. Eventually, once these flowers dry up and die, I'll be cutting this sage plant way back. The wonderful thing is though, oh my gosh, it smells so heavenly in here too. But the wonderful thing about sage is here in California, it's a perennial. So this plant has been in here for about 7 years, believe it or not. I cut it back once or twice a year, and it's just a mammoth. So right in here, we have some celery that grows every year. It reseeds. Believe it or not, I only planted celery in here a couple of times. It's gone to seed, and it always just grows back in abundance every single year. And of course, the nasturtiums are my absolutely favorite. So my plans for this garden bed are probably to put another climbing squash in here, maybe the butternut or a spaghetti squash. I'll put some tomatoes in here, and maybe back in here it gets a little bit more shaded in the afternoons. I'll put some cucumbers because they really do like the afternoon shade. And of course, the strawberry towers in front there are starting to kind of leaf out and branch out. Now, what I really need to do with a couple of my strawberry towers, especially the two white ones, are divide the strawberry plants and spread them out. They're really getting crowded in there. The soil is getting kind of compacted, so I want to switch out the soil, add some new nutrients, and redo a couple of the strawberry crate towers. So you want to stay tuned for videos on that as well. Now this container here is where I have my mint. Now I know it doesn't look like much yet. I did a hard prune back on my mint just a few weeks ago. I pruned it back literally to the sticks here. And the cool thing about mint is when you prune it back hard, it will start to grow back. So you can see I've already got some new growth. There'll be some fresh new green leaves. If you're growing mint, I highly recommend growing it in a container so it doesn't invade your whole garden. Now I mentioned about celery going to seed, and here's a celery plant right here that is flowering and going to seed. Well, I hope you enjoyed the spring garden tour and enjoyed the beautiful colors that the garden is right now. I just want to encourage you, whether you're growing on a windowsill, a balcony, a patio, or a yard, grow your own vegetables. You can do it, it's so much fun.
Yes, follow your heart. And if that is really what your desire is, then love it, use the space you have, and watch it grow.
When you harvest a basket of your own organic vegetables, all the effort you put into planting and nurturing it is worth it, and you're gonna love it. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on the next video.